Hello and welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
This is a new
everybody.
podcast.
It might have been like demon possessed. It was a fairly large, mutated looking chicken.
We were born in the north, but we grew up in the south.
We learned all of our words from Pennsylvania.
And people are that toboggan, that little toboggan.
Not
there.
a toboggan. A toboggan is a sled. Okay.
0.3 inches, baby.
Dude, I can't take it.
Thanksgiving is right around the corner. You got any plans for Thanksgiving?
Yeah. You got any plans?
No, because I'll tell you why. I have to work Black Friday. That sucks. That's the point of having
So you can't really leave town.
Normal job. Yeah.
I had to do that last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very fun, but it'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, Thanksgiving, I know it's a time to be thankful, but it's not as big of a holiday as like Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I've never prioritized Thanksgiving as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll be okay. Maybe if you want to have like a dinner or something, maybe buy it beforehand because things are going to be gone.
Maybe. Or I can
You can go to McDonald's. That's what I did last year.
Yeah. Or I could take the non-traditional route. This is crazy. Let me hear this.
Mm-hmm.
Follow fast and use that time to be thankful for the food you have on a normal basis.
Oh,
That's a way to be thankful
fast for
and
Thanksgiving.
fast for Thanksgiving. I like that idea. I think I might do that.
You might just not eat anything.
For the whole day, yeah.
Just drink
fast.
water.
Fast and be thankful.
That's good. That's a good perspective to have.
Yeah.
What's new going on with Wiseworks with you? What's new? What's going on?
What's new? At this point, we just finished up this past weekend. When this video comes out, it has not happened yet as of recording this, but this weekend when you guys watch this,
Yeah.
we went back, took a little trip to South Carolina so we can film a wedding, a friend's wedding.
Yep. Well, yes, kind of a friend's wedding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that's considered.
Yeah, my boy Seth's older sister.
But
Get
yeah,
married.
I mean, their family in general, we're pretty
Yeah.
decently close with.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yeah, but I would like if it was Seth's wedding though, I wouldn't film it.
Yeah.
Not only
Yeah,
because
you'd
I'd probably be
be
in it, but even that closer friends and stuff, I don't film weddings for.
Yeah.
But there's a little distance, so
Yeah.
we're fine.
Well-
But yeah, we just did the wedding. Hopefully everything went well.
Yeah.
I think I'm not nervous at all going into it because it's pretty formatted. I've done weddings. This will be I want to say this will be like my 13th wedding or something like that.
Oh my guy.
I don't even know how many weddings I've done. Talk for a minute. I'm going to try to calculate it up.
I know I've done 3 or 4 with you. Probably
Mhm.
3. I think 3. So but I have not done that many with you, and you've done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, it's got to be more than 3 because now that I'm thinking of it, it's got to be like 4 or 5, maybe even 6.
Maybe even 6?
Maybe even 6.
6 weddings?
That I've filmed with you, yeah. I might be. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's a lot more than 3.
I need to figure out how many I've done. Oh, there's
Yeah.
8. In my mind, right off the bat, I'm counting 8, but I know I'm missing like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. How long have you been
maybe
doing
3.
the freelance wedding stuff, though?
2015.
Yeah, but you don't do it that often because it's not like your main
I usually
thing.
do like between 1 and 3 a year. I think this year I did 1 earlier this year
Okay.
in October. No. What am I saying October for? March. And then I'm doing another one
Pre-COVID,
this
yeah.
coming weekend, November. So I've done 2 this year. I just kind of I don't really advertise that much. That's something that's interesting. A lot of people that get into freelance videography, I've yet to figure out how they advertise without like arguing or without, argumentative, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Pretty much, it's without question that most of the time the best marketing is word of mouth. That's pretty much agreed upon. However, that doesn't always get you the most clients. So marketing is weird when it comes to freelance jobs. Weddings usually are the easiest to get because they are consistent. And if you know a lot of people and people know you do video, most likely you have something to show them if you've done a couple. And they, like, usually you don't know that many people. People don't know that many people who do wedding videos, you know?
Yeah.
So they're going to come to you kind of
like
first.
Photography, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, that can kind of segment into what I wanted to talk about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just self-confidence.
Yeah.
In the video world, in work in general. In owning a business. Or trying to get...
Owning a business sounds like it's a little pretentious.
Well,
for us to
trying
say.
to start a business, let's say that.
Yes.
Trying to start
the beginning workings of starting a business.
Or an adventure.
An adventure business.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. An adventure business. Yeah, okay. Keep going.
I mean, so you're talking about freelance. I've not done as much freelance as you, and I've never done any sole, like, just me freelance.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, like, together.
Yeah.
We did it together. That's partly just because, not because of lack of confidence, but more of, I don't know, I don't have the interest as much as you. And I think I know you do it as a side hustle just to get a little bit extra cash.
Well,
but
the more weddings you do, the better you become, and the better you become, the more money you can charge.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of something I've been in the background working on. It's getting to the point where I can charge more for the product I provide.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to a good place at this point. I'll continue to get better and maybe add some more gear like drones and stuff. But right now, the typical man and a camera and a light if it's dark and a ceremony recording, I've got it down pretty well, you know?
I mean, all weddings are pretty much the same. There's
Once you've done a
exceptions.
couple, you figure out the format, and it changes a little, but honestly, it's so similar. You know?
The only exception, especially with the weddings you've done, is like, are they dancing? Are they drinking? If not, everything else is going to be the same.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yes. It's there's number 9 that I wasn't thinking about.
Dancing.
Yeah, there's
what dancing and drinking have you been doing?
No. I'm thinking of a wedding that I recorded that didn't have dancing or drinking.
Okay.
I will tell you, the weddings are hard when there's no dancing or drinking because that makes for honestly the best content.
Yeah.
Because you have good like drinks in your shot, you can get cool close-ups, people get a little more loose, they're more happy, you know? And then they also are dancing, so they're having a good time. People are out there on the dance floor. Okay, I will say this, though.
Well, in general, if you're not in front of a camera all the time and someone points a camera and be like, just filming you, even if you're just standing there, you're
prefer
like,
to that person to have a little alcohol in them, honestly.
Yeah, they feel a little uncomfortable if they know a camera's pointed at them.
Yeah, because they don't care as much, you know? They've gotten loosened up. I would say something that I would say if there's going to be dancing, I would prefer there to be alcohol, but I would rather there be no dancing if there's no alcohol, because it becomes real weird. So you got like this whole like dancing thing, but only a couple outgoing people are out there, and it's like, I don't know. It just kind of feels like, this is a harsh word, but it kind of feels like half-assed dancing. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like we're play dancing, you know, like we're not actually having a good time. We're just following the motions of what a wedding should be.
Yeah.
Like it's not a genuine experience. And that's what I want when I'm filming a wedding. It's a wedding I want to be at, even if I don't know the people. I want a genuine experience.
That's one thing I know with your wedding.
Mine was not half-assed.
No. Well, I feel like not everybody. There was a group of people that were definitely just having fun, but mostly it was the groomsmen, and then a couple.
There was a lot of people.
A handful of other people. Yes, I'm not saying
there
just
was
the
a lot
groomsmen,
of people that were having a
but
good time.
definitely some of the groomsmen. I mean, if you have a podcast with some dudes and they're like throwing in a little bit of Jewish, then you know that you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. Oh, Seth said he was dying laughing.
Yeah, it was a good episode.
Quick plug on last podcast, the last midnight special, 2 midnight specials ago.
2 midnight specials
at this point.
The one we talk about film scores.
Yeah, I think it's called Film Scores.
Mhm.
So look that up. It's a good one.
Yeah, it was really fun to record. We were just having a good time. I think that was the end of Sober October, like the last week of Sober October. So I think we were kind of just all tired from Sober October.
I think we were just having a good time, honestly.
Just having a good time.
I think we were just having a good time. Yeah. But, so confidence.
Yeah.
Filmmaking confidence. Could I bring up like an idea of confidence and then just see where it goes?
Yeah, sure.
So there's a lot of strains of confidence. Maybe in the confidence realm we can start in and then go from here is freelance marketing yourself, quoting prices for things.
Oh, that's a big thing, especially in today's world with photography, videography, whatever you want to say.
Selling yourself, it's success rate is literally based on how confident you are.
Yeah, how confident you are, and
there's obviously the aspect of you being able to provide a good product, but more than that, it's confidence. Because literally where you make better money is the more confident you get in your product, in your ability to perform on the day.
Yeah.
And then just knowing what that you've gotten to the point that you should be making better money. If you listen to this and you don't know anything about prices for video, well, since we're talking about weddings, we'll start there. A good wedding photographer that you can trust to get a good video to you and has the confidence level, not to say that there aren't artistic people that couldn't put together a good video and really artistic and be cheap, but that simply means that they're not experienced yet. And I've only done 13 weddings. Mm-hmm. You're most likely not going to get a good video done by a good photographer that's experienced or videographer that's experienced for under $1,500. And even my prices has changed. Like, honestly, with every wedding, I change it a little. Bring it up. I have a little bit more experience. I think I'll literally keep bringing it up until I hit like 3,500.
For real?
Yeah, if I continue getting better equipment, doing more things like drone shots, have steady cams, I'm learning new techniques, learning new ways to light things that are simple. The more weddings I do, the more value I'm adding to myself. And I can get it to the point where I'm doing 3,500. This guy I worked with, he literally, I think like last year or something, he was telling me about a time where he was asked to be a second shooter, second videographer. Maybe he was the main videographer, but he didn't edit the thing.
Yeah.
For a wedding, and it was in New York, and he didn't really want to do it. So he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna spit out a price because I don't really want to go anyway. That would make it worth my time. He says $5,000, and they're like, okay, yeah.
My guy.
He didn't even edit the thing. He just was there to film it.
Yeah, that's when you get pretty good.
The thing is, though, people don't know how to operate cameras. We've taken time to learn. People don't know how to edit.
I will say
We've taken time to learn. We pay for the ability to edit with the program we use.
Yes.
Each month.
I want to throw us a little bit of a bone and say, yes, we've gotten better. I want to say, when we started this podcast, we were at a stage when we weren't the best.
You mean the quality of the podcast?
Not just the podcast, just videos in general.
I don't think so. Maybe you. I was in a good place. For this podcast, I intentionally kept it. I wanted to start it off keeping it really raw to see where it goes.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. I wasn't like 2 years ago, I wasn't in a bad place as far as video goes.
So you think
I'm better now today, but okay. I wasn't terrible.
I'm curious. Yeah, maybe I was just me not observing.
I was probably 6 or 7 or 8 weddings deep by the time we started this podcast. Like I've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
Okay. I'll give that to you. We'll see. Well, I'll have a week if we get permission. Is it in your contract? Can you show the video anyway?
Yeah, I can. I'm able to use it as promotion content for myself.
Okay, so we're gonna play it on this podcast. We're gonna watch this video once it comes out, once you finished with it, and I'm gonna critique it. We're gonna watch it, and we're gonna see, compare it to your first wedding video.
Oh, the first one's gonna be a lot different.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds like a podcast right there.
So you want to compare my wedding videos, and we're gonna talk about that for an hour and a half.
Maybe not an hour and a half, but we'll do a small segment about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. But
Okay.
going off of freelance, just talking about wedding videos,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot when it comes to just confidence in general. I mean, confidence for podcasting, we've gotten a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
We're definitely more comfortable, and I feel like a table for me
Okay, well
made it better.
let's take a step back. Instead of diving right into saying, "Hey, we're really confident in the podcast," what areas do you need to grow in still?
Oh,
Let's try not
definitely.
to inflate our heads during this episode.
Okay.
What areas of the podcast do you see lacking? For me, it's for some reason I really struggle with starting the podcast with energy.
Yeah, starting with energy.
Sometimes
for me,
I get it up in the middle, but sometimes I never get it.
getting it into what I want to say and kind of getting into that, as we call that Joe Rogan rant, because I feel like that's what spearheads a good podcast. You are getting into a good conversation, then you
Well, you just got to
get a
talk
good
about
rant.
I think that trick is literally just talk about things that are interesting.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about, for me to get into that good rant, usually you have to open up a little bit, and
Yeah,
that's something
for
that
sure.
I'm not good at. I've got better talking in front of a camera and acknowledging things that I don't want to talk about, but it's just personal life experience,
Mhm.
and sometimes I'm just not good at sharing my life and emotions.
I think
Would you agree I've gotten a little
Yes.
better with that, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's less icky to you, I think.
Yeah. Which, the thing is, in my mind, I've kind of realized everybody's got flaws, and that's the best part of them, is their flaws. And sharing your flaws and just being comfortable with that
Mhm.
is what makes you confident, and also makes you, I don't know, just be open and accepting
Keep going
of
down
other
this
people.
road. Keep going down this road.
Yeah.
Keep going.
What do you want me to say? That's
don't
all I
know.
have with
That's
it.
all you have.
Yeah.
For sure. The people's shortcomings, their flaws, is definitely the best part of them.
Yeah.
Going back to the idea of
Okay,
humans are
wait.
the most interesting to us.
I do have something else I can say on that, because I know self-confidence and not wanting to acknowledge your downfalls,
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm talking about, and we talked about this briefly on I think a last podcast. It's
Mhm.
just something I'm
Thinking
still
about.
thinking about and meditating on, I
Okay.
guess, is like the mindset of a monk,
Mm-hmm.
and how they acknowledge things and just have a fulfilled life and very happy life.
Well, that I think they refer to that as like enlightenment.
Yeah, well,
Monks are really into working towards enlightenment.
enlightenment, but
The
most
OG
of that,
enlightenment, not like the buzzword enlightenment. You know?
yeah. So part of that, to get that enlightenment, is they kind of accept their flaws. Most of the time when people sit down and meditate, they say, like, the thing that's they don't like about themselves, or that they feel like, if they have anxiety or something, they breathe in and they say, I accept my anxiety, and it's there. I acknowledge that it's there.
Mm-hmm. Part of therapy that Mackenzie's
Yeah.
told me about is
And-
literally thanking your body for creating anxiety.
Yeah,
Thanking
and
your brain for the safety mechanism that goes off that causes anxiety,
Yeah.
because it's a safety mechanism, and your brain doesn't realize you're not in danger.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm studying this, or just looking into it, and just seeing it as something, as a learning
Mhm.
tool. I mean, because it all kind of ties together. I mean, like you're saying, it's part of therapy, and I'm not a therapist. I don't know that, but I can study these ways and just learn
Mhm.
something from it.
Yes. I think so to get So there's a little bit, man, my mind's racing tonight.
Yeah.
I think there's a big difference between confidence and ego.
Okay.
So one of the biggest thing like Joe Rogan advocates for, which people are going to think Joe Rogan's a cult leader or something.
Yeah.
But the big thing he advocates for is essentially, I think if you break it down, it's ego death.
Okay.
And that is a common phrase that's used by people who use psychedelic drugs. Because one of the first experiences, any experience you can have, you have a form of ego death, but especially the first one, because it's the initial ego death. So depending on which kind of drug you took, mushrooms is real quick, acid lasts like 12 hours. You know what I mean?
We're talking about mushroom and acid.
I'm using this as an example because Joe Rogan talks about it.
Okay.
This is not from personal experience. I promise. But from what I understand, there's a point during the experience where they would call ego death. It's when you realize that you are not the main character of this story.
Yeah.
It's where you realize that you're not an I. The world is not supposed to be seen through the lens of like a me or an I or a single, but it's more of a we and an it and a collective. Does that make sense? And they describe it as literally realizing you're in this big soup of everything in the world and the universe and people and ideas, and you're just a part of this big thing that's happening, and you're not like an individual. You're not like a main character of your story. There are bigger, more important things, and it causes a thing called ego death. That's what they refer to it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this idea of constantly seeking self-centeredness, like making a lot of money. All of a sudden, like there's been experiences where people have a high experience or an LSD trip, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, it just clicked in my brain. Money does not matter. You know what I mean?
I think I agree with
Things
what you're
like
saying,
that.
and I know what you're saying.
Can I finish one thing real quick?
Okay.
I was getting to the point of the monks.
Okay.
I had to go down that road first. Joe Rogan also talks about people that don't use drugs, and monks have said that they can reach that point that's like an LSD trip with no drugs through the form of meditation.
Yeah.
And that's like days of meditation. You reach this weird transcendent point that all of a sudden you do experience things like ego death. Your perspective radically shifts from what it was, you know? That's why I was going down that road.
So I understand with what you're saying. You're just acknowledging it, and you're talking about what Joe Rogan was saying.
And not just Joe Rogan, a lot of people.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of, and I've not gotten into a lot of his stuff, so I don't know much about this individual.
But also, we should acknowledge they're still illegal.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to encourage anybody to use them.
Well, and you're not saying that.
I'm saying literally what I hear other people saying.
Okay.
And I hear a lot of people saying it to the point where all of a sudden I don't really view psychedelics as like a drug that's like heroin or cocaine. You know what I mean? I'm seeing things a little bit differently.
Okay.
I really don't think psychedelic drugs is like cocaine or heroin.
Okay, I think we should get off the cocaine thing. Not just being open, I just don't think we should talk about it.
That's fine.
Okay. Back to what I was saying about this individual.
Okay.
Have you heard of, I don't know what his real name is, but they just call him Sadhguru?
No, I don't think so.
I think he's Indian, I think.
Okay.
And he's basically one of those old dudes that people say are very wise, and he meditates for days and days. But I only know of him because he was on, and I know you're not a fan of this podcast, but Logan Paul's Impulsive recently, and apparently he's really like veered as a very like wise person, and he meditates a lot, and he knows like a lot of deep and wise teachings and things like this that he's just learned in his life from meditating and studying things and stuff like that. But when they did the podcast, because I watched it, they asked him, they're like, have you ever taken any drugs or anything? He said, no, I've never taken anything because I'm always high on life. And he basically said the same thing you did, saying,
and I don't even know this guy. See, that's how many people are saying the same thing.
He feels like he's high all the time because he can meditate.
He's reached this form of enlightenment without having to use outside substances to reach this point of ego death and changed perspective of life.
I mean, I'm just bringing it up because I watched that episode. I don't know anything about him very much, so
it would be fascinating to dedicate a podcast to get someone who knows about this stuff.
Yeah,
and talk
that would
to
be
him.
Interesting.
Someone with a lot of experience,
I think, and
because they're going to have the most wise avenue of talking about it.
A really deep part of all of this, though, and part of being enlightened, and we've talked about this on the podcast, Alex talked about this on the podcast, is to dedicate your life in helping other people. That's what essentially gets you to that point of being happy and enlightened.
But it's also not just enlightenment, it's also a biblical principle.
Yeah.
So it goes back to when they asked Jesus what, essentially they were asking, like, what's the most important thing for, like, Christians or a believer, or what's the purpose, or what's the calling of humans? And they said, to love God and to love others.
Yeah.
And when you truly love someone, what are you going to do? The highest form of love is sacrifice yourself. And then you think of, what are things I can sacrifice? Well, what's your most valuable asset? Your time. If you sacrifice your time to help other people, then all of a sudden you are sacrificing of yourself for others.
Yeah.
And it is a form of enlightenment, or it is a form of following God's principles in the purest way that Jesus himself said.
That's beautiful.
And this is why the whole debate about,
we're getting into religion. We said, I'm pretty sure we said it on one of the first episodes.
You brought it up.
This is not a religious podcast, which we're coming out with a podcast soon, and I want to talk about this a little bit more, but have a disclaimer at the beginning. That's what we're going to be talking about mainly.
It's not. It's an entertainment.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that people aren't interested in who we are as entertainers, what kind of ideas we have.
Okay. So let's get back to self-confidence a little bit, because we've gone off a little bit.
So to wind back, ego and confidence is different.
Yes. Okay. So let's tie it back to self-confidence, because this is a big insecurity of mine, which I'm trying to work on every time we do it, is my acting ability. You agree?
Yeah.
We just came out with a film, Greater Remembering. You've probably watched it. It's something we've been promoting a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I've not acted a lot in films. I feel like I've gotten better, especially with the podcast. It's helped me be in front of a camera more and maybe helped me with acting a little bit, but I haven't acted and played a different character except for in that film. Or, I mean, I did when we were younger, but that didn't count. We weren't doing anything professionally.
Yeah.
I would like to see in 5 years or 10 years, if I'm still being thrown into films and be more,
see where you're at,
see where I'm at, see how good I've gotten.
Honestly,
and that's part of self-confidence. I'm not good at self-confidence, and I'm not good at playing a character.
Yeah.
I've not adapted the aspect of playing a character and not being myself.
So what you're saying is your confidence is low in that department.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you can tell when you watch it.
I suppose.
Yeah. I will say that film was a little bit weird because we filmed it very quickly, and that was the point. We were going to film it, get it done with, and that's all. I didn't have time to look at the character as much and see what I was going to take from it, or be like, I'm going to play it this way, and I know that's how you're going to adapt it, because that's you as the director, because you were the director of that film, basically. That's how you want to interpret that script, basically. Because that's what a director is. The point of the director is to get the actors to fulfill his vision of the script, basically.
Yes. To get everybody
Yeah.
to fulfill his or her vision of the script. Yes. Exactly.
That's what I said.
Well, you
So-
said the actors only.
Okay, well, everybody.
It's everybody.
Yeah.
It's here's the vision, and everybody's all around it, and you have to try to get everyone into the vision and understand it. You do that primarily through communication and troubleshooting, and yeah, those two things.
So
Good communication.
I would like to be in another film to give my acting abilities a little bit more of a try, get my self-confidence up there a little bit more, and maybe pull something off this time that I'm actually proud of, and not a little bit embarrassed to watch.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. It is always weird to watch yourself though on film. I mean, even these podcasts,
You know what?
is a little weird.
It's kind of become taboo for me.
It has for me a little bit.
I've been
Not
around
completely.
cameras and editing and everything so much. The idea of people being nervous, I can kind of I'm kind of sympathetic to it, or I can sympathize.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know when this happened, but it's kind of left my body. I'm around cameras so much, and I've been on sets for like TV with a lot of people, where there's big name people around. I've been on.
Have you ever been in front of a camera on TV? Live TV?
No, I've never been the talent or the guest on TV, but I've been around, like I've been seen. You know what I mean? Like I don't know exactly. Like you know how
shot
there's like a
count?
wide shot,
Yeah,
yeah,
at the
and then
end.
you see like a bunch of people like in the room.
That count? I
Yeah,
guess
that counts.
I probably have too.
Yeah,
Because I would edit the show when I was working in TV. Edit
Yeah.
the show, and then at the end of the show, we would have a staff or just production meeting, and
you're there, like you're on TV. You're just in the background. You're out
I
of
would be like,
focus.
okay, they got like 2 minutes left of the show. I'm gonna go walk into the studio behind the cameras, and then once we're done, they say cut. Then I'll walk in and we'll have
Yeah.
a meeting. I would walk into the back of the room, and sometimes I'd be in the shot.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like they intend for that. I'm just saying, like I've been in environments where it's gotten a little bit higher caliber. I haven't worked with like a blockbuster actor on set, but I'm not nervous around cameras. I'm not nervous around people who's been on cameras as their career for a long time, and I'm not nervous around editing or creating a piece that's going to go on. It's going to be seen by thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Like I'm not nervous about that, you know? And a part of that's literally just doing it a bunch. But I can say I can remember when at one time that was nervous for me, like to be in front of a camera and say some things. Like I remember me kind of being nervous, but I don't remember the feelings anymore because I'm just like, kind of like when you said a person that's been on stage a bunch loses stage fright, kind of. Some people lose stage fright. It's kind of like that, especially if it's just like me and a camera. I would say it would probably come back if there was like a whole crew of people watching me and waiting for me to perform.
Yeah.
That nervousness would probably come back. But just being on camera does not bother me at all.
I will say, because we were doing like 20-minute long podcast video form, then we started the Midnight Special, which was made to be a longer form content, but only audio.
Yeah.
I will say, after a couple episodes of that, I felt more comfortable here, and then we started doing a longer video formed podcast, and then I got more comfortable there.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of
exactly.
snowballing
It just keeps going.
Yeah. Self-confidence.
Well, how you acted on Greater Remembering would still be better than it would be a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot better.
I think the podcast has helped.
Yeah, for sure. The podcast for sure has helped.
Yeah.
And that's good because we're only at like a little over 100.
Yeah.
So imagine when
And
we get to...
don't have that many people following us yet.
Yeah.
So
Literally,
that's good.
we're able to just trial and error our way through when we don't have that many eyes yet, you know?
Yeah. Which is exciting. It's exciting when
Yes.
you can go back and watch your journey as an individual or as a person or as a company or just as a podcast, maybe different episodes, and just seeing how life evolves. I mean, because everybody has stages in their life, and their life kind of evolves into something. It's exciting to see that. That's something.
You know what I think?
Yeah.
Longevity depends on how long it took you to get somewhere.
Wait, can you go into that a little more, because it doesn't make sense.
I think longevity in a career, longevity in a passion, longevity in a business like entertainment, in the podcast world, in filmmaking, in acting, the things we are delving into.
Yeah.
I think longevity in those things has a lot to do with how long it took you to get to somewhere where you're something of a success. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Where maybe success is defined by being able to be self-supported. Maybe success is being able to make more money working for yourself than you have working for any job you've ever worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you quantify success. Maybe becoming a millionaire is what you quantify as success. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think we define our own, but within that realm, I think your longevity of that thing, your success, is dependent on how long and how much you were able to learn in the process, build up an endurance of how long it took you to get there.
Yeah.
You know?
Something that I do, and this is my personality, I'm going to say that very loosely. I'm a person that likes to watch and observe something for a good solid minute. And like, it seems like I'm observing for too long maybe, and I'm not doing anything because I'm just observing. But I observe and I analyze, and I'm like, okay. And then when I do it, I'm better at it because I was observing and analyzing.
Okay.
I think that's, for my photography, I think that's helped me that way. Because I like to go see how other people do their photography, watch people that I admire.
But you can't only observe.
Yeah, photography.
You have to put into
photography.
practice.
You have to put in.
And for video,
but yeah,
any craft, you have to put in the practice.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's all I'm doing, but that's something that I do, and it helps me a little bit.
Yeah, being able to observe is definitely a skill set that's going to benefit you in the process of doing your thing. You know, for sure. Just don't only observe. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
So being confident, maybe, do you think we should take it out of the idea of like passion or career? Maybe just confident as a human?
We can.
Because I don't like the idea of giving advice like I know something.
Yeah, we can. I mean, this is just loosely talking about confidence. I'm not saying that it has to be for career or all that too. I did bring that up at the beginning.
We were really shy kids.
Shoo.
Really shy.
Shoo.
I remember this one time Dan Dahlgren, good friends of our parents. They were a little bit older than our parents.
I think they watched the podcast maybe they watched some things, because I know they.
Well, I was a little kid.
Before.
This is a very early memory. Still living in Pennsylvania. I was a kid. There was like this Bible study thing that our dad would go to. He would take me sometimes. I don't remember if he took you or not. But I was really young. I was probably like 6 or 7, maybe 5. I don't even know how young I was. But I remember this dude that I didn't know but kind of knew my family was like talking to me, and I was like a little kid, and he's just like, you know, smiling, making a few jokes, you know.
That's beautiful.
It is. And I was like, oh. And I was by my dad, and so I hugged his leg, and I was like being shy, and I was just like putting my face on his leg.
That's all kids, but yeah, we were a little too much shy.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't want to talk to this stranger. And I look up, and it's Dan Dahlgren. And I was hugging Dan Dahlgren's leg, and I was like, and I ran away, and I saw my dad was over there, and I was like, oh my gosh. I went and hugged his leg. I remember
That's a weird memory.
Shy.
It's like a trauma memory.
It's because it scared me.
Yeah, it's
because I felt safe with my dad, and then I looked up and it wasn't my dad. Exactly.
That's funny. But yeah, I would agree. We were very shy. Especially, even in high school, I wasn't the outgoing as person, but I feel
No,
like
it took you a while.
yeah, I feel like now I'm starting to get pretty good. I mean,
Well, like,
I talked about this with someone the other day. I was like, I was talking about being homeschooled, and they were talking about like how that affected
it
them.
would be fun
And
if
I
we
was
just
like,
try to come up with as many homeschool jokes as possible.
yeah. Well, people don't probably know this. We were homeschooled. We never talked about this before, have we?
What up, homeschoolers?
We were
Leave a
homeschooled
comment.
our whole 1st through 12th, I guess.
Yeah, our
But
education career,
I was-
besides a little bit of college, is homeschool.
Yeah, I was talking about being homeschooled, and I was like, yeah, there's some weird homeschoolers out there that are not confident. And I was like, I think
You were that way.
I was that way, but I was like,
I was that way.
I think I've turned out pretty good, and they were like, yeah,
It takes
you
time.
seemed a little bit normal,
It takes time, though.
just a little bit.
It's not that homeschooling messes you up. I would fight that. I would fight that idea. I think certain versions of education works differently for different people. I think also we were probably very fortunate the way we were educated.
For me, I think there's actually, especially with self-confidence, there's a time when you have to kind of hit the brick wall, though, and be like, okay, I'm just not going to be like this anymore. You know, you kind of have to learn how to do that.
Would you rather do that as like a 17, 18, 19-year-old where you're kind of awkward, you have like an awkward stage in your teens, but then you hit the brick wall when you're a little bit older and developed? Or would you do that like when you're freaking 13, 12, and you're really young, and all of a sudden you have to hit this wall that's really weird and could send you in any direction?
Yeah.
You know? And you don't, your brain is not even close to developed. Which one would you rather have?
I would go with what you're saying, but I would heed this now that I am, and I'm not saying I'm that old, but like as a 23-year-old, I would tell myself, if I could go back and tell myself anything when I was in high school, especially with self-confidence.
Talk to girls more.
No, this is
It'll
what I
help
would,
you in the future.
This is what I would, yes, I would say that, but I would also say, be confident, or no, do something to put yourself out there now. And yes, you're going to probably mess up because you're
going to be real embarrassed.
Because you're going to be nervous and you're going to be embarrassed.
You're going to wear some weird colored pants.
Yes, but
you're
still pretty young. When I was in high school, I thought, oh, I'm in high school. I'm this age. It's the worst thing now, but you're going to be older. You're going to get over it. I mean, think right now.
Time moves fast, but time also moves slowly.
Like right now, if I do something and I'm like, man, I'm a little embarrassed to do this, but I'm like, what, 23? If I do it now and I get over it now, then what happens when I'm 30 years old? I mean, I'm not going to remember the being embarrassed. I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm confident in doing this now because I'm 30 years old.
Yeah. Or even think about this, dude. All of the people that were so cool that you were really intimidated by when you were a teenager, like that's not a factor anymore.
Not really.
I'm not nervous of anyone on this earth.
No, it's kind of
no
funny.
one on this earth makes me nervous.
Do you
unless they could
yourself
physically
as a really
harm
confident
me.
person?
No. Around other people, yes. And if I can physically be harmed, yes. I think no, there's a lot of confidence things I have to work out. And I don't really even understand confidence. I don't know if we can understand confidence, but as far as the department of like being nervous around people, I don't think there's a person. I think I would get giddy and excited and like have butterflies if I was meeting someone that like I'm excited to meet.
Yeah.
But there's not a person I'm scared of interacting with.
That I don't know if I should bring this up because I don't know if anybody involving this situation will listen to our podcast. But I'll loosely talk about it. Can I talk about it? You know what I'm going to bring up?
I have no idea.
What happened over the weekend?
This past weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah. Don't talk about that.
Don't talk about it. I don't know. Something happened and it made me chuckle. But it had something to do with self-confidence, I feel like.
Yeah, we're not talking about that here.
Okay.
We'll talk about it in a year.
Okay.
Yeah. But pretty much what I'm saying is there's not a person that I'm nervous to talk to. And that was not the case when I was like a teenager. confidence was very low just in the department of being scared of other humans. This goes back to a little bit.
How do you feel with interviews?
Interviews?
Mm.
Like job interviews?
Job interviews, yeah.
Honestly, I'm not that nervous. I'm
nervous, man.
Okay, this is where I get nervous. If I feel pressured that I need to like dress up real fancy, like in a suit and tie, I think that's the worst. That throws me off like nothing else.
I feel like most people, what you like, we're saying, I'm not really nervous to talk to someone, or I feel nervous in that way anymore. I think that stage I've gotten over. But when it comes to interviews, I don't like it. I think this is why I don't like it though, because they ask weird questions like, if you were going to do this, how would you do this? Or what do you feel about this or thing? And I'm like, what the heck?
Okay.
I don't know these questions.
Maybe I need to premise. I'm not. I do get nervous if there's consequences to an interaction with somebody. So I can be nervous in an interview, but I also know that interviews are mostly just them getting to know me and getting to know what I'm good at. If you understand that clearly, then it doesn't matter if you don't get the job, and it doesn't matter if you do. It's literally just just someone getting to know you and understanding where you're at. If you're not a good fit, you need to understand that person probably is just like, okay, you're not ready for a job like this, from my experience. That's okay. You can move on from that. It might be a bummer, but you can move on. That doesn't mean I don't get nervous, but just the act of interacting with a human, that's not the scary part to me. That doesn't make me nervous. An interview can if there's high stakes involved. Like if I really need money, or this is like a dream job, or like it's some kind of maybe a deal or a freelance gig that's like going to be the difference between me having like $5,000 in my savings account and $25,000 in my savings account. You know what I mean? Something like that would make me feel a bit nervous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, the actual just human to human interaction isn't what makes me nervous. It's more of the result of that interaction.
Okay.
You know?
That makes sense. Yeah. I guess I'm kind of the same way. I will say, on top of this podcast, kind of simultaneously.
Simultaneously?
That word, yes, that one. With the podcast, I have moved positions, jobs, with working in TV, just being behind a camera, editing a video, to moving to a, what's the word where you sell things? What is that called? Retail job, yes. And with that retail job, I've had many positions.
But it's been a number of years. Also,
yeah.
The job where you were editing and stuff, it sucked.
Well, no, I'm not just talking about that. I was behind a camera. I mean, behind a computer, just editing.
Yeah.
When I got into like retail, I have moved to several positions, even gone up to kind of a supervisor position.
Yeah.
And so in that and working with other people, I have learned like people skills and learning to talk to people more and customer service.
And doing that, all of a sudden you realize humans are humans, right?
Well, no, there's some Karens out there that are not human.
But you can also just work on the perspective of just being like, okay,
yeah,
I can laugh at this Karen. I don't have to take her seriously. I just don't have to match her level. You know what I mean? As long as you don't match her level, you'll be fine, and you can just be entertained by the experience.
Yeah, that is true.
Because she's just a human. She's just a human.
Yeah.
But it's so weird to think of that idea of what do you think confidence ultimately is? Because like I said, I don't know if there's a level of confidence that I don't know if being truly confident,
putting yourself, I think it's putting yourself out there.
It's definitely a spectrum.
I think it's just putting yourself out there and having the fear of failing and other people seeing that failure.
Ooh. That's nice to think about.
So it's not, I mean, with yourself, you're very confident because there's nobody but yourself. I mean, you can be like, oh, I'm judging myself, but it's also all yourself. You're fearing the fact that they're going to judge you, which they probably won't. It's just your fear.
But they also might. But
They
guess
might,
what?
but
They're also going to judge you if you don't.
yeah, I think that's something I've learned in the
If
past
you're a
couple
part of
years.
the human race, you're going to be judged
If you
no
don't.
matter what you do.
That's true. That's something I've learned the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It's better to put yourself out there and then lose. I mean, or just be quiet. That's something.
If you're going to fail,
yeah.
give the judging people something to really talk about.
I heard a comedian actually recently. He was talking about it's better to throw out a joke and it miss the mark and people not think it's funny and be like, what? And not get it. Or do that 5 times and 2 of the times people are just dying over laughing because they think it's so funny. But you wouldn't have those 2 times if you didn't throw out the 5 times.
Okay, but you can apply that also to like the podcast. We have a good time with the Go Force on the Midnight Special.
Yeah. But if we didn't have the
we didn't have a podcast every week, the good ones like we did last week or 2 weeks ago,
I agree
they
with
wouldn't
that.
happen because there have been some hit and misses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But if we didn't have one every week, if we weren't pumping them out, if we weren't talking about different topics, then the good ones wouldn't exist at all. If we like gave up, because we're at like episode 22 or something of the Midnight Special.
Yeah.
If we gave up after like 10, then we wouldn't have been able to have the other one.
Yeah.
You know?
That is true.
It's a numbers game.
It's
just
also
keep
just
trying until
a good
it
time
works.
with some friends.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just recording it.
Even if it's not a good time, we usually have a conversation that, okay, at the base level, we had a conversation with friends. Yes,
Yeah,
it built
builds
friendship. At the base level, it builds friendship.
I would definitely say
On top of that,
it
all
built
the
my
bonuses.
friendship
You
with
learn something,
the
you have a good
Go-Force.
time, you get a good laugh in,
Yeah.
could make your day. You know?
Yeah. I would say it's built my friendship with the Go Force.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's weird, like, as an adult, okay, this,
Yeah.
I don't know how true this is, but I've heard one time, and I think I've talked to Mackenzie about this. She says, I don't know if you should put yourself in a box like that, or something along those lines.
You're giving yourself a personality?
No, where it's not a personality. It's like a, it's
She's
like,
probably
okay,
listening in the background.
I think there are 5 things. I think it's, okay, career, family, friends. Maybe it's just those 3 things. I don't know. I think maybe there's like 3 to 5 things that humans can pursue, but you only really truly get to pick 2. I don't think that's necessarily true.
Wait. What?
I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this.
Yeah.
That I've heard someone quantify, like, I'm pretty sure there was 5 different things. It's like family's 1, career is another, friends is another, and then there's 2 other things that I can't remember off the top of my head. And it's like basic things that pretty much make up the majority of human existence.
Okay.
As far as relationally and things that are important. And that a person that I heard this from, I think it was on the radio or something, he said, most of the time humans can only pick 2 of those, prioritize 2 of those 5 things.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually really works well for 2 of those 5 things. You know what I mean? I wish I knew them all because I could present this idea in a more clear way, even if it is false.
You should know it.
I should know it. But I think I hit it out because I think it didn't make sense to me after a while, and I was encouraged in other different mindsets. But pretty much like, if that was true, then I kind of get a twofer because doing the podcast, a twofer.
What's the twofer?
I get to pick like 3, I think.
Okay.
Or at least there's 2 in 1. So like career and friends.
Oh,
you know,
I hear what you're saying.
What I'm doing for the career, the stuff I'm doing, the steps I'm taking towards a career, is also working with the friends. Like Rhett and Link have their dynamic. They were able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just brought that up. It was a long time to get to that one point.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what I was saying. Yes.
Okay.
It's a cool dynamic to be able to get friends involved in something that you're mutually interested in. But also I think this would be a cool podcast. Talk about the dynamic in a professional level from the company standpoint with each other, because we're brothers, and then we're also friends.
Well, we've kind of talked about this on the Dynamic Between Brothers podcast.
But I mean the dynamic involving the
Friends.
company
Mm.
or working together.
We have the Brothers podcast.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
How long ago was that?
We
I
were
don't even
sitting at
remember.
this table with this setup.
In this
But
room?
yeah, we were talking about the dynamic between us brothers and having a business together. This is before
Did we
Midnight Special,
really?
though. Yeah, before the Midnight Special.
I don't remember that.
But yeah, we do have a dynamic, and I haven't listened to it yet. Can we talk? I guess let's approve it first. The podcast you guys recorded.
Oh yeah, we'll approve it before we talk about it.
Okay.
But so yeah, confidence is not something that I think is. You said something earlier. What did you say?
The fear of someone else, or fearing.
No, you said something really good a little bit ago that I wanted to expand on. Confidence is something. I don't know if it was an idea.
Is the fear of failing in front of other people.
Yes, that was it.
Mm.
Dive into that, because I think that's truly where it gets. I think that's where people's holdup is. You have to fail.
Yeah.
Like, you have to fail, for sure. And most of the time, the failure is not going to be as devastating as you think it is.
I mean, it definitely feels that way in the moment.
It feels that way in the moment, but is it really, though?
Sometimes in the moment it's bad. I mean, I've had some bad things.
Yes, so have I. But I'm just saying.
In like a couple years, you'll be like, oh, it's not a big deal anymore.
Exactly. In a couple years, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm
Unless-
glad I went through it.
Unless
even.
you just really mess up.
But even if you, okay, yes, there are levels that's really hard to move past that
Yeah.
you can mess up. But if you're like walking through life trying to be careful, then most of the time your mess up's not going to be huge, because you're gonna recalibrate. You know what I mean? In the middle of that, if someone's on a destructive life direction, they know it and they've chosen it, and then it's going to fall apart at some point. That's
Mhm.
different than failing in front of people, because that's choosing to live a destructive life.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between a failure and living a destructive life.
I think
So the
no.
failures are not the things that really matter a year or 2 years or
I don't
3
know
years
if
down
destructive
the road.
life is the way to describe it, because I know where you're going with this, and I don't think destructive life is the best way to describe it. But I know what you're saying.
People who live in a destructive lifestyle know they're in it.
Destructive life.
If you're,
Define
if
that
you're,
then.
if you, this is not meant to be judgy, but it's pretty across the board agreed that it's a destructive lifestyle. Okay?
Mm.
If someone is using heroin mildly,
Why are you not judging that person for heroin?
because if someone is addicted to heroin, the last thing they need is someone judging them for it.
Okay. Yeah.
And the most thing they need is help. But what I'm saying is it's still a destructive lifestyle. So if someone is using heroin, but they still have like a job or whatever, well, your trajectory is going to lead to a heavier and heavier and heavier addiction to this really intense self-destructive drug that's going to hit a brick wall that you know is coming, and you're choosing to, maybe you're not choosing because you're addicted, but you've chosen to enter into this thing and you know you're there during it.
Mm.
That is going to hit a really bad place eventually. Maybe it leads to homelessness. Maybe it leads to all kinds of loss as far as friendships and relationships. Maybe it leads to death. Maybe it leads to you being so addicted you take years off your life. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things.
Where are you getting with this? I think
what I'm saying. Where was I going with this?
See, I think you've lost it at this point.
No, I haven't. I was going down a road, and then you asked me where I was going with this, and I've lost it. What was I comparing? A destructive lifestyle and a failure. Okay. So you were saying failures can be pretty bad. I'm saying, no, the things that are pretty bad is a destructive lifestyle. A failure is not ultimately that bad.
Okay.
That's what I would say. A failure sucks in the moment a lot, but it's not like detrimental. A destructive lifestyle is what's detrimental. You know what I mean? And if you're living a destructive lifestyle, you know it. If you're trying to be smart and wise going through life, then you will have failures, but they're not going to mess up your life forever. Someone chooses to smuggle money from their employer. That's a destructive lifestyle. You've made a really bad decision that can mess you up for the rest of your life. But if you're going through life trying to make wise decisions, you're not going to run into this situation where you've smuggled money or you've accidentally, like, unwillingly smuggled money from your employer. You know what I mean?
Okay. I see where you're going with that now.
I'm saying if you're trying to be careful, you're going to have failures. It's not going to be destructive to your whole life.
Yeah.
It's not going to be detrimental. Literally a year or two down the road, you're going to be like, that taught me a lot. I'm glad I went through that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think...
And even those build your confidence. Having failures build your confidence in ways that helps better than anything else.
Yeah. Do you think you failing and building your confidence helps other people when they observe you?
I don't think we as humans really observe other people that well. I think we only observe people we admire, and it takes a lot for someone to admire another person. We idolize people, but we don't really admire them.
Okay. I mean, I think it's...
So I think, okay, this idea of influencer, this idea of influencing other people, I really think it's oversold. And I think that idea is, believe it or not, we walk around this life thinking we're the main character. I said this at the top of the podcast about something.
Mm-hmm.
If we admire someone, it means we're choosing to say they might know something that I don't, and I have something to learn from them. It takes a lot of humility, a lot of ego death to get to the point where you're willing to see life through that lens. Most people don't.
Beautiful. I think, and this is crazy, because I still consider myself young. Do you consider yourself young?
Yes, I'm very young.
You're not young. You're old. You're
Shut
old
up,
crap.
bro.
I'm young.
Shut up, bruh. I'm young.
You're half of 50.
Yeah, that's young. People live to be their 80s. I still got the same amount of time I've lived before I even hit 50, and I still probably have 30 years past that. I don't even remember the first 7 or 8 years of my life. So that's adding another 7 or 8 years before I even hit 50 of what I've already experienced. I'm young, man. I'm so young.
Yeah. Something I want to do, and I think this is part of just observing other people and learning from other things. We need to travel more. I don't think we travel enough
I think the reason I don't travel a lot is just the stage of life we're in.
Stage of life, but we're too busy, we're workaholics. I could say that we're workaholics a little bit.
But I think work for us will eventually lead to a lot of travel.
Maybe.
I think it will.
Okay.
I think just try to be content with where you are. It's okay to have fun trips. We should definitely have fun trips. For sure.
Should meet new people. I want to meet new people. I don't want to just take a trip to be like,
You've just met some new people.
Oh, no. Yes, I've met new people, but I'm saying I want to take a trip to meet people outside of...
You want to meet a lot of new people.
Yeah, well, some unique people that are different than me. And
we can use this podcast.
Yeah.
All we have to do is have conversations with
people. I don't
want to
take a trip.
Meet them.
When I take a trip, and in my mind, it's cool to go be like, oh, I went to the Grand Canyon before. I've been to this place. But for me, my ultimate goal when I take a trip, I want to meet that guy that's been sitting on that porch of this diner for like 10 years because he's just an old dude and he's retired, but he has a lot of stories.
You know what you should do? There's a lot of old homeless people here walking the streets. Why don't you just like leave your wallet at home, grab your keys,
yeah, I should definitely
walk down to the beach. Yeah, don't bring your wallet so they can't steal anything. But just walk down to the beach, find an old dude, sit next to him and start talking to him. See if he's wise or he's just crazy.
Probably
see
crazy.
what conversation happens. It
a
might
lot
be
of crazies,
fun,
but yeah.
But you also might learn something.
Man, that's the ultimate thing. We should both do this together so we can kind of push each other to do it.
Okay.
Because that is definitely self-confidence, man.
I'm not
that would
scared
be
to do
hard
that.
to do.
I'm not
At least for
scared
me,
to do
it would be
that.
a little bit. Yeah, I like that though. Let's do that. Maybe not make it for a video. We can report back on this podcast when we do it, but maybe not film it. Just make him feel weird about recording.
Yeah, we wouldn't record a homeless dude,
but
just talk to him, see what he says.
Let's do this.
But also, we don't want to use another human as a social experiment. That gets into an icky territory.
Okay, yeah. I'm talking about to just collect
we should only
some
do
good
it if we're
patina
genuinely interested in what this guy has to say.
No, we always use this word. I don't know if we've said this on the podcast, but we did about
the logo of the podcast.
We people watch,
but also the logo of the podcast.
What is the logo? What do you mean?
It's like it has injected symbology, but it also is an old man.
Oh, that logo. I thought you were talking about the W. I'm like, the Weisberg's logo? What?
No.
It's just the W.
No, the podcast logo.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just want to, there's a lot of unique people, and sometimes I like to people watch. I'm a little creepy old man for him. Yeah. I'm a bit creepy with that.
You know who doesn't like to talk to people who look at you weird if you try to talk to them?
Huh.
Teenagers. They don't like to talk to you.
Yeah. I think that's something that I've learned too. Yeah, I agree. I was that way a little bit.
Well, it's also, I just try to avoid teenagers in my life at this point.
I do too, only because
teenagers got to go through a lot of crap and they got to figure their life out before they're even.
Yeah, I don't want to give teenagers a bad rep because they're just figuring life out. They're in a weird stage between kids and adults, and it's a horrible time. I mean, I would say my teens were horrible, but I would like to say I've gotten past that a bit. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're freaking.
Yeah, I mean, I have a podcast, man. I'm an old man.
3 years out of 3 years out of being 19. Only 3 years. Dog,
4.
You're so young.
No, 4 because
how old
19,
are you?
20, 21, 22, 23, and I'm gonna be 24 soon.
I'm gonna be 26 in like a few months.
Yeah, you're like an old man. You're gonna be 30, and I've already got the gray hair. What am I complaining for?
I don't know. You got more gray hair than me.
I know. It's because I got all that wisdom, that patina.
I don't know.
I got patina on the side of my head.
Okay, this is the difference. Do you think you are confident, or do you think you just have a really strong ego?
Confident. I think life experience and things I've been through have given me the confidence to say, I've been through this, so I don't have to put myself down and say that I don't deserve not ego, because that's a very ego thing. I'm trying to say this right.
Maybe you have ego and you don't realize it.
Maybe I do. Maybe it's something I need to work on.
I'm not saying it's something you need to work on. I'm not trying to do an application here. I personally don't know, because I can define it, kind of.
No,
but you have to do
this
some
is
really
my definition
deep
of
inner
why
searching.
I don't think I have ego. Because I try to, every opportunity I can, to say yes to something that's like hard work, even if that's Like,
So you don't think you're above things?
I'm not above things. No,
Okay, that's a good sign.
I push myself to, even if I don't want to say yes to the thing that's labeled as the lower totem pole job,
Mhm.
or something that someone doesn't want to do.
You're okay with being in a humble position?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think that's what builds character and builds leaders.
Yeah.
So I make myself do that.
Yeah. What do you think is the strongest thing when it comes to confidence versus ego that you struggle with? Because the biggest thing I struggle with is entering a room and telling myself, I'm not the smartest person here. You know?
Mm.
Because I think if you walk into a room and think, oh, these people are idiots, like, I'm definitely the smartest person here, that's ego. When you come into a room and say, I may not be the smartest person here.
When I walk into a room, this is kind of, what time I'm just making sure we don't go over.
We're good.
When I walk into a room, I don't think of smarts and see who's smartest in the room. To be honest, I'm in there to collect the patina for myself. Is that bad? To collect other people's patina.
Only if you intend to use it for good, like Spider-Man.
Well, I'm not physically collecting
Joshua,
patina.
you're out there collecting,
No, I'm collecting
power.
their knowledge.
With great power comes great responsibility, son.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Well, I am great powering it. I'm putting in this podcast, and I'm trying to share it with the world.
No. You can't let this podcast be your... And this is how I give to people.
No,
that's pretentious.
Okay, yeah. Now that you say that, I do hear that. I don't know.
This is how you help people in your realm. If you have patina, you have good conversations with them.
Yeah.
You be humble. You let them talk it out, and then you try to share anything you might think is valuable. But don't overstep your bounds, and don't think you have all the answers. Also, if they need help with something, or they need space, or maybe you have a resource for them that you know can help them, especially in the filmmaking world. Yeah. You got a camera, you got microphones, you got something, they're your friend, they want to get into podcast. Maybe be like, hey man, you're my friend. I want to help you get started. Maybe like I'll let you use my equipment for the first 50 episodes. You know what I mean? Maybe that's how you help people. That's how you stay humble. That's how you be other people focused. Not this influencer mentality where I'm going to get wisdom, I'm going to get knowledge, and I'm going to say I have experience. And then I'm going to create a course that you can buy for $39.99.
Only $39? I'm charging $60.
And you're some influencer.
Or even $80.
Or you have essential oils that's,
what?
Cured your stretch marks.
I don't know. I need to get rid of some of the stretch marks I got.
Well, because you're so strong.
Yeah.
There's always someone stronger, Joshua. There's a lot of people out there. A lot of people that I want to have cool conversations with.
Okay. Let's get more guests on the podcast.
I have ideas for season 7. Oh, first time I've said season 7, dog. Season 7. We're getting closer and closer to the end of season 6.
That's true. We definitely... And we're not going to announce...
this podcast, I feel like I have ideas, and I'm like, we're doing the idea. And then eventually, we get into the idea, we're doing it, and then a new season rolls around, I'm like, I got new ideas, boy. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to stick for multiple months doing the exact same thing. I gotta shake it up.
I feel like you're like a Rick. Be like, come on, Morty, let's go do this.
Come on, Morty, I got an idea. Come on. And now I'm dragging Wyatt and Jamark around with me. Come on, guys, I got an idea.
And I'm just like Morty, being like,
come on, Rick, we haven't even got this one figured out yet.
Rick, I know.
We still have to figure out how to, still got to get gas. All right, we should end this episode.
Yeah. I say we're
confidence. It's not all it's chalked up to be, but it is important.
Yeah.
Try to figure out the difference if you're confident or egotistical. Is that a word?
And it's good to fail. So fail as much as possible.
because you know that I'm pretty sure your gut
No,
knows the difference.
Fail as much as possible. Try to not fail, but you're going to fail, and that's what builds confidence.
Yes. Don't be afraid of failure. Because,
Yes.
like I was
But
saying,
don't purposely try to fail.
I'm pretty sure your gut knows the difference between failure and self-destruction.
Not always, but yes. Okay, sounds good. You want to end this?
I don't know. Yeah. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. Hey, subscribe. We would greatly love you to stick around. And by doing that, to do that, you have to subscribe and you have to hit the bell so you know when we upload. That's the version of you sticking around virtually.
Yeah. We have a midnight special Friday nights on Spotify.
Midnight Special is an audio-only podcast. Runs about the same time, maybe a little longer as these do. And we got Jamark and Wyatt, our friends, that are on that every week.
Some other guests, sometimes maybe.
Other guests. Friday nights at 10 p.m. It's meant for Friday nights to kick off the weekend, but it's great to listen to at any point during the weekend or during the week. But the ideal time is Friday night or Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Ideal time.
Yeah. So, we're here to make geeks out of you.
You said it right.
I did. After 100 episodes.
Yeah, after 100 episodes. All right.
Have a good night. Or day. Or whatever.
Thank you for watching. All right.